Chapter 2. Risa. Risa paces backstage, waiting for her turn at the piano. She knows she could play the sonata in her sleep. In fact, she often does. So many nights she would wake up to feel her fingers playing on the bed sheets. She would hear the music in her head, and it would still play for a few moments after she awoke. But then it would dissolve into the night, leaving nothing but her fingers drumming against the covers. She has to know the sonata. It has to come to her as easily as breathing. It's not a competition, Mr. Durkin always tells her. There are no winners or losers at a recital. Well, Risa knows better. Risa Ward, the stage manager calls. You're up. She rolls her shoulders, adjusts the barrette in her long brown hair, then she takes the stage. The applause from the audience is polite, nothing more. Some of it is genuine, for she does have friends out there and teachers who want her to succeed, but mostly it's the obligatory applause from an audience waiting to be impressed. Mr. Durkin is out there. He has been her piano teacher for 5 years. He's the closest thing Risa has to a parent. She's lucky. Not every kid at Ohio State Home 23 has a teacher they can say that about. Most Stay-Ho kids hate their teachers because they see them as jailers. Ignoring the stiff formality of her recital dress, she sits at the piano. It's a concert Steinway, as ebony as the night, and just as long. Focus. She keeps her eyes on the piano, forcing the audience to recede into the darkness. The audience doesn't matter. All that matters is the piano and the glorious sounds she's about to charm out of it. She holds her fingers above the keys for a moment, then begins with perfect passion. Soon her fingers dance across the keys, making the flawless seem facile. She makes the instrument sing, and then her left ring finger stumbles on a B flat, slipping awkwardly onto B natural. A mistake. It happened so quickly it could go unnoticed, but not by Risa. She holds the wrong note in her mind, and even as she continues playing, that note reverberates within her, growing to a crescendo, stealing her focus until she slips again into a second wrong note, and then 2 minutes later, blows an entire chord. Tears begin to fill her eyes, and she can't see clearly. You don't need to see, she tells herself. You just need to feel the music. She can still pull out of this nosedive, can't she? Her mistakes, which sound so awful to her, are barely noticeable. Relax, Mr. Durkin would tell her. No one is judging you. Perhaps he truly believes that. But then he can afford to believe it. He's not 15, and he's never been awarded the state. 5 mistakes. Every one of them is small, subtle, but they are mistakes nonetheless. It would have been fine if any of the other kids' performances were less than stellar, but the others shined. Still, Mr. Durkin is all smiles when he greets Risa at the reception. You are marvelous, he says. I'm proud of you. I stunk up the stage. Nonsense. You chose one of Chopin's most difficult pieces. Professionals can't get through it without an error or two. You did it justice. I need more than justice. Mr. Durkin sighs, but he doesn't deny it. You're coming along nicely. I look forward to the day I see those hands playing in Carnegie Hall. His smile is warm and genuine, as are the congratulations from the other girls in her dorm. It's enough warmth to ease her sleep that night and to give her hope that maybe, just maybe, she's making too much of it and being unnecessarily hard on herself. She falls asleep, thinking of what she might choose to play next. 1 week later, she's called into the headmaster's office. There are 3 people there. A tribunal, thinks Risa. 3 adults sitting in judgment, like the 3 monkeys. Hear no evil, see no evil, speak no evil. Please sit down, Risa, says the headmaster. She tries to sit gracefully, but her knees, now unsteady, won't allow it. She slaps awkwardly down into a chair far too plush for an inquisition. Risa doesn't know the other two people sitting beside the headmaster, but they both look very official. Their demeanor is relaxed, as if this is business as usual for them. The woman to the headmaster's left identifies herself as a social worker assigned to Risa's case. Until that moment, Risa didn't know she had a case. She says her name, Miss Something or Other. The name never even makes it into Risa's memory. She flips through the pages of Risa's 15 years of life as casually as if she were reading a newspaper. Let's see, you've been a ward of the state from birth. It looks like your behavior has been exemplary. Your grades have been respectable, but not excellent. Then the social worker looks up and smiles. I saw your performance the other night. You were very good. Good, thinks Risa, but not excellent. Miss Something or Other leafs through the folder for a few seconds more, but Risa can tell she's not really looking. Whatever's going on here was decided long before Risa walked through the door. Why am I here? Miss Something or Other closes her folder and glances at the headmaster and the man beside him in an expensive suit. The suit nods and the social worker turns back to Risa with a warm smile. We feel you've reached your potential here, she says. Headmaster Thomas and Mr. Paulson are in agreement with me. Risa glances at the suit. Who's Mr. Paulson? The suit clears his throat and says, almost as an apology, I'm the school's legal counsel. A lawyer? Why is there a lawyer here? Just procedure, Headmaster Thomas tells her. He puts a finger into his collar, stretching it, as if his tie has suddenly become a noose. It's school policy to have a lawyer present at these kinds of proceedings. And what kind of proceeding is this? The three look at one another, none of them wanting to take the lead. Finally, Miss Something or Other speaks up. You must know that space in state homes are at a premium these days, and with budget cuts, every stay home is impacted, ours included. Risa holds cold eye contact with her. Wards of the state are guaranteed a place in state homes. Very true, but the guarantee only holds until 13. Then, all of a sudden, everyone has something to say. The money only stretches so far, says the headmaster. Educational standards could be compromised, says the lawyer. We only want what's best for you and all the other children here, says the social worker. And back and forth it goes like a three-way ping-pong match. Risa says nothing, only listens. You're a good musician, but, as I said, you've reached your potential, as far as you can go. Perhaps if you had chosen a less competitive course of study. Well, that's all water under the bridge. Our hands are tied. There are unwanted babies born every day, and not all of them get storked. We are obliged to take the ones that don't. We have to make room for every new ward, which means cutting 5% of our teenage population. You do understand, don't you? Risa can't listen anymore, so she shuts them up by saying what they don't have the courage to say themselves. I'm being unwound. Silence. It's more of an answer than if they had said yes. The social worker reaches over to take Risa's hand, but Risa pulls it back before she can. It's all right to be frightened. Change is always scary. Change? Yells Risa. What do you mean change? Dying is a little bit more than a change. The headmaster's tie turns into a noose again, preventing blood from getting to his face. The lawyer opens up his briefcase. Please, Miss Ward, it's not dying, and I'm sure everyone here would be more comfortable if you didn't suggest something so blatantly inflammatory. The fact is, 100% of you will still be alive, just in a divided state. Then he reaches into his briefcase and hands her a colorful pamphlet. This is a brochure from Twin Lakes Harvest Camp. It's a fine place, the headmaster says. It's our facility of choice for all all of our unwinds. In fact, my nephew was unwound there. Goody for him. Change, repeated the social worker. That's all. The way ice becomes water, the way water becomes clouds. You will live, Risa, only in a different form. But Risa's not hearing anymore. Panic has already started to set in. I don't have to be a musician. I can do something else. Headmaster Thomas sadly shakes his head. Too late for that, I'm afraid. No, it's not. I could work out. I could become a buff. The military always needs more buffs. The lawyer sighs in exasperation and looks at his watch. The social worker leans forward. Risa, please, she says. It takes a certain body type for a girl to be an army buff and many years of physical training. Don't I have a choice in this? But when she looks behind her, the answer is all clear. There are 2 guards waiting to make sure that she has no choice at all. And as they lead her away, she thinks of Mr. Durkin. With a bitter laugh, Risa realizes that he may get his wish after all. Someday he may see her hands playing in Carnegie Hall. Unfortunately, the rest of Risa won't be there. She is not allowed to return to her dormitory. She will take nothing with her because there's nothing she needs. That's the way it is with unwinds. Just a handful of her friends sneak down to the school's transportation center, stealing quick hugs and shedding quick tears, all the while looking over their shoulders, afraid of getting caught. Mr. Durkin does not come. This hurts Risa most of all. She sleeps in a guest room in the home's welcome center. Then, at dawn, she's loaded onto a bus full of kids being transferred from the Stayho complex to other places. She recognizes some faces, but doesn't actually know any of her travel companions. Across the aisle, a fairly nice-looking boy, a military buff by the look of him, gives her a smile. Hey, he says, flirting in a way only buffs can. Hey, Risa says back. I'm being transferred to the State Naval Academy, he says. How about you? Oh, me? She quickly sifts through the air for something impressive. Miss Marple's Academy for the Highly Gifted. She's lying, says a scrawny, pale boy sitting on Risa's other side. She's an unwind. Suddenly the buff boy leans away, as if unwinding is contagious. Oh, he says. Well, that's too bad. See ya! And he leaves to sit with some other buffs in the back. Thanks, snaps Risa at the scrawny kid. The kid just shrugs. It doesn't matter anyway. Then he holds out his hand to shake. I'm Samson, he says. I'm an unwind too. Risa almost laughs. Samson. Such a strong name for such a mealy boy. She doesn't shake his hand, still annoyed at having been exposed to the handsome buff. So what did you do to get yourself unwound? Risa asks. It's not what I did, it's what I didn't do. What didn't you do? Anything, Samson answers. It makes sense to Risa. Not doing anything is an easy path to unwinding. Was never going to amount to much anyway, Samson says. But now, statistically speaking, there's a better chance that some part of me will go on to greatness somewhere in the world. I'd rather be partly great than entirely useless. The fact that his twisted logic almost makes sense makes her angrier. Hope you enjoy harvest camp, Samson. Then she leaves to find another seat. Please sit down, calls the chaperone from the front, but no one's listening to her. The bus is full of kids moving from seat to seat, trying to find kindred spirits or trying to escape them. Risa finds herself a window seat with no one beside her. This bus trip will be only the first leg of her journey. They explained to her, to all the kids after they boarded the bus, that they would first be taken to a central transportation center, where kids from dozens of state homes would be sorted onto buses that would take them to wherever they were going. Risa's next bus would be a bus full of Samsons. Wonderful. She had already considered the possibility of sneaking onto another bus, but the barcodes on their waistbands make that an impossibility. It's all perfectly organized and foolproof. Still, Risa occupies her mind with all the scenarios that could lead to an escape. That's when she sees the commotion out of her window. It's farther up the road. Squad cars are on the other side of the freeway, and as the bus changes lanes, she sees two figures in the road. Two kids racing across traffic. One kid has the other in a chokehold and is practically dragging him, and both of them have run right in front of the bus. Risa's head is slammed against the window as the bus suddenly pulls to the right to avoid the two kids. The bus fills with gasps and screams, and Risa is thrown forward down the aisle as the bus comes to a sudden, jarring stop. Her hip is hurt, but not bad. It's just a bruise. She gets up, quickly taking stock of the situation. The bus leans sideways. It's off the road in a ditch. The windshield is smashed and it's covered with blood. Lots of it. Kids around her all check themselves. Like her, no one is badly hurt, although some are making more of a fuss than others. The chaperone tries to calm down one girl who's hysterical. And in this chaos, Risa has a sudden realization. This is not part of the plan. The system might have a million contingencies for state wards trying to screw with things, but they don't have a plan of action for dealing with an accident. For the next few seconds, all bets are off. Risa fixes her eyes on the front door of the bus, holds her breath, and races toward that door. Chapter 3. Lev. The party is big, the party is expensive, the party has been planned for years. There are at least 200 people in the country club's grand ballroom. Lev got to pick the band, he got to choose the food, he even got to select the color of the linens, red and white, for the Cincinnati Reds. And his name, Levi Jedediah Calder, is stamped in gold on the silk napkins for people to take home as a remembrance. The party is all for him. It's all about him. And he's determined to have the best time of his life. The adults at the party are relatives, friends of the family, his parents' business associates, but at least 80 of the guests are Lev's friends. There are kids from school, from church, and from the various sports teams he's been on. Some of his friends had felt funny about coming, of course. I don't know, Lev, they had said. It's kind of weird. I mean, what kind of present am I supposed to bring? You don't have to bring anything, Lev had told them. There are no presents at a tithing party. Just come and have a good time. I know I will. And he does. He asks every girl he invited to dance, and not a single one turns him down. He even has people lift him up in a chair and dance with him around the room because he had seen them do that at a Jewish friend's bar mitzvah. True, this is a very different kind of party, but it's also a celebration of him turning 13, so he deserves to get lifted up in a chair too, doesn't he? Lev finds that the dinner is served far too soon. He looks at his watch to see that 2 hours have already gone by. How could it have gone so quickly? Soon people grab the microphone and, holding up glasses of champagne, they start making toasts to Lev. His parents give a toast, his grandmother gives a toast, and uncle he doesn't even know gives a toast. To Lev, it's been a joy to watch you grow into the fine young man you are, and I know in my heart that you'll do great things for everyone you touch in this world. It feels wonderful and weird for so many people to say so many kind things about him. It's all too much, but in some strange way, it's not enough. There's got to be more. More food, more dancing, more time. They're already bringing out the birthday cake. Everyone knows the party ends once the cake is served. Why are they bringing out the cake? Can it really be 3 hours into the party? Then comes one more toast. It's the toast that almost ruins the evening. Of Lev's many brothers and sisters, Marcus has been the quietest all evening. It's unlike him. Lev should have known something was going to happen. Lev, at 13, is the youngest. Marcus, at 28, is the oldest. He flew halfway across the country to be here at Lev's tithing party, and yet he's barely danced or spoken or been a part of the festivities. He's also drunk. Lev has never seen Marcus drunk. It happens after the formal toasts are given, when Lev's cake is being cut and distributed. It doesn't start as a toast, it starts as just a moment between brothers. "Congrats, little bro," Marcus says, giving him a powerful hug. Lev can smell the alcohol on Marcus's breath. "Today, you're a man." Sort of. Their father, sitting at the head of the table, just a few feet away, lets out a nervous chuckle. "Thanks, sort of," Lev responds. He glances at his parents. His father waits to see what's coming next. His mother's pinched expression makes Lev feel tense. Marcus stares at Lev with a smile that doesn't hold any of the emotion a smile usually comes with. "What do you think of all this?" he asks Lev. "It's great." "Of course it is. All these people here for you. It's an amazing night. Amazing." "Yeah," says Lev. He's not sure where this is going. He knows it's going somewhere. "I'm having the time of my life." "Damn right. The time of your life. Gotta wrap up all those life events, all those parties into one. Birthdays, wedding, funeral." Then he turns to their father. "Very efficient, right, Dad?" "That's enough," their father says quietly. But it only makes Marcus get louder. "What? I'm not allowed to talk about it? Oh, that's right. This is a celebration. I almost forgot." Lev wants Marcus to stop, but at the same time, he doesn't. Mom stands up and says in a voice more forceful than Dad's, "Marcus, sit down. You're embarrassing yourself." By now, everyone in the banquet hall has stopped whatever they were doing and are turned into the unfolding family drama. Marcus, seeing he has the room's attention, picks up someone's half-empty glass of champagne and holds it high. "Here's to my brother Lev," Marcus says, "and to our parents, who have always done the right thing, the appropriate thing, who have always given generously to charity, who have always given 10% everything to our church. Hey, Mom, we're lucky you had 10 kids instead of 5. Otherwise, we'd end up having to cut Lev off at the waist." Gasps from all those assembled. People shaking their heads. Such disappointing behavior from an eldest son. Now, Dad comes up and grabs Marcus's arm tightly. "You're done," Dad says. "Sit down." Marcus shakes Dad's arm off. "Oh, I'll do better than sit down." Now there are tears in Marcus's eyes as he turns to Lev. "I love you, bro, and I know this is your special day, but I can't be a part of this." He hurls the champagne glass against the wall, where it shatters, spraying fragments of crystal all over the buffet table. Then he turns and storms out with such steady confidence in his stride that Lev realizes he's not drunk at all. Lev's father signals the band, and they kick into a dance number even before Marcus is gone from the huge room. People begin to fill the void of the dance floor, doing their best to make the awkward moment go away. "I'm sorry about that, Lev," his father tells him. Why don't you go dance?" But Lev finds he doesn't want to dance anymore. The desire he had to be the center of attention left along with his brother. "I'd like to talk to Pastor Dan, if that's all right." "Of course it is." Pastor Dan has been a family friend since before Lev was born, and he has always been much easier to talk to than his parents about any subject that required patience and wisdom. The banquet hall is too loud, too crowded, so they go outside to the patio overlooking the country club's golf course. "Are you getting scared?" Pastor Dan asks. He's always able to figure out what's on Lev's mind. Lev nods. "I thought I was ready. I thought I was prepared." "It's natural. Don't worry about it." But it doesn't ease the disappointment Lev feels in himself. He had his entire life to prepare for this. It should have been enough. He knew he was a tithe from the time he was little. "You're special," his parents had always told him. Your life will be to serve God and mankind. He doesn't remember how old he was when he found out exactly what that meant for him. Have kids in school been giving you a hard time? No more than usual, Lev tells him. It's true. All his life he's had to deal with kids who resented him because grown-ups treated him as if he was special. There were kids who were kind and kids who were cruel. That was life. It did bother him, though, when kids called him things like dirty Unwind, as if he was like those other kids whose parents signed the Unwind in order to get rid of them. That couldn't be further from the truth for Lev. He was his family's pride and joy. Straight A's in school, MVP in Little League. Just because he's to be unwound does not mean he's an unwind. There are, of course, a few other tithes at his school, but they're all from other religions, so Lev has never felt a real sense of camaraderie with them. The huge turnout at tonight's party testifies to how many friends Lev has. But they're not like him. Their lives will be lived in an undivided state. Their bodies and their futures are their own. Lev has always felt closer to God than to his friends or even his family. He often wonders if being chosen always leaves a person so isolated, or is there something wrong with him? I've been having a lot of wrong thoughts, Lev tells Pastor Dan. There are no wrong thoughts, only thoughts that need to be worked through and overcome. Well, I've just been feeling jealous of my brothers and sisters. I keep thinking of how the baseball team is going to miss me. I know it's an honor and a blessing to be a tithe, but I can't stop wondering why it has to be me. Pastor Dan, who was always so good at looking people in the eye, now looks away. It was decided before you were born. It's not anything you did or didn't do. The thing is, I know tons of people with big families. Pastor Dan nodded. Yes, it's very common these days. But lots of people don't tithe at all, even families in our church, and nobody blames them. There are also people who tithe their first, second, or third child. Every family must make the decision for itself. Your parents waited a long time before making the decision to have you. Lev reluctantly nods, knowing it's true. He was a true tithe, with 5 natural siblings, plus 1 adopted, and 3 that arrived by stork. Lev was exactly 1/10. His parents had always told him that made him all the more special. I'll tell you something, Lev, Pastor Dan says, finally meeting his eye. Like Marcus, his eyes are moist, just one step short of tears. I've watched all your brothers and sisters grow, and although I don't like playing favorites, I think you are the finest of all of them in so many ways, I wouldn't even know where to start. That's what God asks for, you know? Not first fruits, but best fruits. Thank you, sir. Pastor Dan always knows what to say to make Lev feel better. I'm ready for this. And saying it makes him realize that, in spite of his fears and misgivings, he truly is ready. This is everything he has lived for. Even so, his tithing party ends much too soon. In the morning, all of the Calders have to eat breakfast in the dining room, with all the leaves in the table. All of Lev's brothers and sisters are there. Only a few of them still live at home, but today they've all come over for breakfast. All of them, that is, except Marcus. Yet, for such a large family, it's unusually quiet, and the clatter of silverware on china makes the lack of conversation even more conspicuous. Lev, dressed in his silk tithing whites, eats carefully so as not to leave any stains on his clothes. After breakfast, the goodbyes are long, full of hugs and kisses. It's the worst part. Lev wishes they would all just let him go and get the goodbyes over with. Pastor Dan arrives. He's come at Lev's request, and once he's there, the goodbyes move more quickly. Nobody wants to waste the pastor's valuable time. Lev is the first one out in his dad's Cadillac, and although he tries not to look back at his father look back as his father starts the car and drives away. He can't help it. He watches as his home disappears behind them. I will never see that home again, he thinks. But he pushes the thought out of his mind. It's unproductive, unhelpful, selfish. He looks at Pastor Dan, who sits beside him in the back seat, watching him, and the pastor smiles. It's all right, Lev, he says. Just hearing him say it makes it so. How far is the harvest camp? Lev asks to whoever cares to answer. It's about an hour from here, his mom says. And will they do it right away? His parents look to each other. I'm sure there'll be an orientation, says his father. That short answer makes it clear to Lev that they don't know any more than he does. As they pull onto the interstate, Lev rolls down the window to feel the wind on his face and closes his eyes to prepare himself. This is what I was born for. It's what I've lived my life for. I am chosen. I am blessed, and I am happy. Suddenly, his father slams on the brakes. With his eyes closed, Lev doesn't see the reason for their unexpected stop. He just feels the sharp deceleration of the Cadillac and the pull of the seatbelt on his shoulder. He opens his eyes to see they have stopped on the interstate. Police lights flash, and was that a gunshot he just heard? What's going on? Then, just outside his window is another kid, a few years older than him. He looks scared. He looks dangerous. Lev reaches over to quickly put up his window, but before he can, this kid reaches in, pulls up the lock on the door, and tugs the door open. Lev is frozen. He doesn't know what to do. Mom? Dad? He calls. The boy with murder in his eyes tugs on Lev's white silk shirt, trying to pull him out of the car, but the seatbelt holds him tight. What are you doing? Leave me alone. Lev's mom screams for his father to do something, but he's fumbling with his own seatbelt. The maniac reaches over and in one swift motion unclips Lev's seatbelt. Pastor Dan grabs at the intruder, who responds with a quick, powerful punch, a jab right at Pastor Dan's jaw. The shock of seeing such violence distracts Lev at a crucial moment. The maniac tugs on him again, and this time Lev falls out of the car, hitting his head on the pavement. When he looks up, he sees his father finally getting out of the car, but the crazy kid swings the car door hard against him, sending him flying. Dad! His father lands in the path of an oncoming car. The car swerves, and thank God it misses him, but it cuts off another car, hitting it. That car spins out of control, and the sound of crashes fills the air. Lev is pulled onto his feet again by the kid, who grabs Lev's arm and drags him off. Lev is small for his age. This kid is a couple of years older and much bigger. Lev can't break free. Stop, yells Lev. You can have whatever you want. Take my wallet, he says, even though he has no wallet. Take the car. Just don't hurt anyone. The kid considers the car, but only for an instant. Bullets now fly past them. On the southbound roadway are policemen who have finally stopped traffic on their side of the interstate and have made it to the median, dividing the north and southbound lanes. The closest officer fires again. A tranq bullet hits the Cadillac and splatters. The crazy kid now puts Lev in a chokehold, holding Lev between himself and the officers. Lev realizes that he doesn't want a car or money. He wants a hostage. Stop struggling, I've got a gun! And Lev feels the kid poke him in the side. Lev knows it's not a gun. He knows it's just the kid's finger, but this is clearly an unstable individual, and he doesn't want to set him off. I'm worthless as a human shield, Lev says, trying to reason with him. Those are tranq bullets they're shooting, which means the cops don't care if they hit me. They'll just knock me out. Better you than me. Bullets fly past them as they wind around swerving traffic. Please, you don't understand. You can't take me now. I'm being tithed. I'll miss my harvest. You'll ruin everything. And finally, a hint of humanity comes to the maniac's eyes. You're an Unwind? There are a million things to be furious about, but Lev finds himself incensed by what he's just been called. I'm a tithe. A blaring horn, and Lev turns to see a bus bearing down on them. Before either of them has a chance to scream, the bus careens off the road to avoid them being smashed head-on against the fat trunk of a huge oak, stopping the bus cold. There's blood all over the smashed windshield. It's the bus driver's blood. He hangs halfway through and he's not moving. Oh, crap, says the maniac, a creepy whine in his voice. A girl has just stepped out of the bus. The crazy kid looks at her, and Lev realizes now, while he's distracted, is the best chance he's going to have to get away. The kid is an animal. The only way to deal with him is for Lev to become an animal himself. So Lev grabs the arm that's locked around his neck and sinks his teeth in with the full force of his jaws until he tastes blood. The kid screams, letting go, and Lev bolts away, racing toward his father's car. As he nears it, a back door opens. It's Pastor Dan opening the door to receive him, yet the expression on the man's face is anything but happy. With his face already swelling from the crazy kid's brutal punch, Pastor Dan says with a hiss and a strange warble to his voice, "Run, Lev!" Lev wasn't expecting this. What? Run! Run as fast as you can and as far as you can. Run! Lev stands there, impotent, unable to move, unable to process this. Why is Pastor Dan telling him to run? Then comes a sudden pain in his shoulder, and everything starts spinning round and down a drain into darkness.